all. Today's office is Nedarim Daf Nun Vav. We are starting at the top of the daf with a brand new Mishnah. And today's office sponsor Lili Nishmas, Mars Miriam Sarah Bas Rabbi Yaakov Maisha, her Neshama should have an aliyah, and Lili Nishmas, Rabbi Chamil Mordechai, and Rabbi Chaim, his Neshama should have an aliyah. And the Mishnah says, Hanay ben Abayis, a person made a neder from a house. He's not going to go into the house. Motor Ba'aliyah, he's allowed to go into the upper level of the house. Rabbi Meir, that's Rabbi Meir's opinion. That's because house and upper level are two different things. The Chachamim say aliyah b'chal habayis. The aliyah is considered part of the house. So when he says bayis, he's including aliyah. However, Hanay ben aliyah, motor b'bayis, if he made a neder, he's not going to go into the aliyah, into the upper floor. He's allowed to go into the house, into the main floor of the house. That's because aliyah definitely doesn't include house. And the Gemara says, Man Tanu, who's the Tana of the following brisa? The pasuk tells us bebase. This pasuk is referring to a negat soras found on a house in Eretz Yisrael. So the brisa says that there's the word base in the pasuk l'rabbis as hayatzia. It's including the yitzia, the veranda, or according to some of the girsa is hatzavua, a painted house. Furthermore, the brisa tells us bebase. The pasuk says l'rabbis aliyah, including the aliyah of the house. So who's this brisa like? Amar Chesed says Rav Meir. He is Rav Meir. The Rabbanan, if it's a Rabbanan, ha'am Rabbanan aliyah b'chal habayis. The Rabbanan told us in our Mishnah that an aliyah is included in a house. So lomali krava base l'riboy. Why would I need a pasuk telling us base, including an aliyah? We don't need a special pasuk for that. It's pasha. A house automatically includes the aliyah. So if we need a pasuk to say that the word base includes aliyah, it must be that that's according to Rav Meir. So Abaye Rabbi says no. Afilu tem Rabbanan ba'ikra. We can even say that Rabbanan would need a pasuk for this. Why is that? The sabbatat chamina. I might have thought the base erz achuzaschem ksiv. The pasuk regarding tzaras tells us if tzaras is found on a house in the land of your achuza. And what would we think that we learn from there? The mechaber ba'ara shmei bayis. Something which is connected to the ground. That's called a house, and that type of house can have an negat tzaras. But aliyah halem mechaber ba'ara. The upper level is not connected to the ground. So even according to the Rabbanon, I might think that a negat tzaras in the aliyah is not considered negat tzaras. So that's why even according to the Rabbanon, we would need to have a pasuk including aliyah specifically when we're talking about tzaras. The Gemara continues. Come on, Azal Hada Amar Avhuna Bar Chia Mashmei Deula. Who's the following member like? Bias bebeis ani marchalecha. If a fellow tells somebody, I'm selling you a house in my house, mar'eu aliyah, he could show him the aliyah, which right now we're understanding to mean he could tell the fellow, do you know what you bought? You bought the upper level of the house. Now, the reason why he's allowed to give him the aliyah, the upper level, is because he told him, a house within my house. But if all he said is, I'm selling you a house, ain't mar'eu aliyah, he's not allowed to give him the upper level. Now, lema Rab Meir, let's say this is Rab Meir. Why? Because Rab Meir says that aliyah and bias are two separate things. So if all he did was say the word bias, that cannot be including the aliyah. The Gemara says, no, I feel tem Rabbanon. This could even be according to Rabbanon. Because my aliyah, what does it mean aliyah? That mar'eu aliyah, he could show him the aliyah. Me'ula shebatim. Really the girsa should be me'ula shebenechasim. He has to show him the best of his properties, the best of what he has. Aliyah doesn't mean the upper level. It means he has to show him the very best of what he has. And so therefore this brisa could even be according to the Rabbanon. And on to another similar Mishnah. The Mishnah tells us, Haned ben Amita, a person made a neder from a mita, from a bed. No sleeping or sitting on a bed. Moter b'dargash, he's allowed to use a dargash, which is a type of bed. For Meir, that's Meir's opinion. The Chachamim say dargash b'chlal mita. A dargash is included in a bed. When he says the word mita, included in that is dargash. However, hanodim and a dargash, if he made a neder from a dargash, moter b'mita, he's allowed to be on a bed. Now the Gemara asks, my dargash, what is a dargash? Amar Ula, he says, arsa degada, it's a bed of good luck, a bed of good fortune. Now, what does that mean? So it's fairly common that they would set a bed in the house designated for the Sar Habayis, or the Malach of the house. And this is like for good fortune or good luck. Now, it's not also because of Nichash, because it's somewhat similar to the concept of a Kisei Shel Eliyahu. And according to Ula, that's what this Dargash in our Mishnah is referring to. Now, we're going to ask a series of questions on Ula. Amrullah Rabban Ula, the Rabban asked Ula, Hadidna, now which we have in our Mishnah, Kshem Mevarin Oisai, when they give him his Sudas Havara. Now, what is a Sudas Havara? So it's the first Suda the Avel eats after the Kvura. The minig is that other people serve him the Suda, meaning it's their food, not his own. So this Mishnah is referring to when the king is an Avel and they're giving him a Suda Savara. How does it look? Kala Amasubin ala Aretz. Everyone reclines on the ground. Vu Mesav ala Dargash. And he reclines on a Dargash. So here's a question on Ula. Kula Shasa la Yasav ala. The whole year he doesn't sit on this bed because it's a bed of good fortune, a bed of good luck, and no one's going to sit on it. But Ahu Yaima Yasav ala, on that day when he's an Avel, he's going to sit on this bed? That doesn't make sense. But I'm asking Ravina asked on this, showing how this is not a good question. Well, it's just like meat and wine. Throughout the year, if he wants meat and wine, he could eat. If he doesn't want, he doesn't have to. It's his choice. But on that day that he's an Avel and they're giving him a Suda, we give him food and he doesn't have an option. He's got to eat this meat and drink the wine. So it could be the same thing with this Arsa Degada. The whole year he doesn't sit on it, but when he's an Avel, he sits on it. So Gemara says, you're right. Al Hakasha, this is the question on Ula. Tatan, you have a brisa. Dargash loy hayakafeu el zagfai. A dargash is not overturned, it remains straight. Now this is another halacha regarding Avelis. In the times of the Mishnah and Gemara, the Avelim would come home from the Kvura and they would turn over all the beds in the house. So this brisa tells us that a dargash is not turned over. Now v'yamid arsa degadahu, if you want to say that a dargash is this arsa degada, this bed of good luck, but Tanya, we have a brisa. Hakaifas mitasai, when a person turns over his bed as an avel, let me tell you about kaifa. He doesn't just turn over his bed. He has to turn over all the beds in the house, and by the same token, he should have to turn over a dargash if it's an arsa degada. So Gemara says no. Halakasha, that's not a question. Nun vavam beis on top. A dargash could be just like a bed, which is special for kalim. The time you have a brisa, im hasamita miyuchedes lekalim. If he has a bed in his house, which is only meant for kalim, it's basically just a storage bed, kind of like your treadmill. Who uses a treadmill? You just use it to store your clothing. So it's the same thing. He has a bed in his house just to store all of his pots and pans and stuff. So he doesn't have to turn it over, and by that same token, he wouldn't have to turn over a dargash either. So Gemara says, you're right, Eli Ikasha Hakasha. If we're gonna ask a question on Ula, this is the question. The time you have a brayser, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, dargash mater karbitav v'unaifel me'elav. All that we have to do to it is its loops have to be undone, and then it falls on its own. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel argues with the Tana that we brought in Amid Aleph. He holds that an avel does have to do something to a dargash. It doesn't have to be turned over, but the loops that are holding up the platform that the mattress is placed on, those are undone, and then this leather piece that holds up the mattress falls down. Now here's the question: V'dargash arsa degadahu. If you want to say that a dargash is an arsa degado, karbitin mi islay, does it have karbitin? Does it even have these loops? It's a totally different type of bed. So it must be that a dargash is not an arsa degado. And the Gemara continues with this. Ki asa Ravin, when Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael, Amar, he said, She'ilti lahu Rabbanan. I asked one of the Rabbanan in Eretz Yisrael, Rav Tachlifa bar Marava Shmei. His name was Rav Tachlifa bar Marava. And why did I ask him what a dargash is? Dahava shchich b'shuka detzalai. He used to frequent the leather market. But Amrli, and he told me, my